Introduction. You are imperfect. You are wired for struggle, but you are worthy of love and belonging. Brené Brown. In the complex world of human interactions, it's almost inevitable that we encounter individuals with narcissistic tendencies. Whether it's a family member, friend, or colleague, navigating these relationships can be challenging. The ultimate self-help narcissistic abuse recovery book aims to shed light on these encounters, equipping you with the knowledge to understand, navigate, and protect yourself from the impacts of narcissism. Narcissism, in its essence, is about the self, how we see ourselves, how we wish to be seen by others, and the lengths to which we'll go for that recognition. This book recognizes that the landscape of narcissism is vast and varied, ranging from relatively harmless traits to deeply destructive behaviors. With a deeper understanding of this spectrum, we aim not to excuse harmful actions, but to set the stage for genuine recovery. Armed with knowledge, we position ourselves to act more wisely and compassionately. This enlightenment encourages us not necessarily to extend empathy towards the narcissist, which can be a complex and painful process for survivors, but to empower ourselves. It's about embracing the mantra, when we know better, we do better. This principle guides us to protect our well-being, make informed decisions, and engage in practices that foster our own healing and resilience, as well as contribute positively to those around us who may also be navigating the shadows of narcissism. This book unfolds in two comprehensive parts. The first explores the essence of narcissism, what it is, and, equally important, what it is not. We dive into its many shades and manifestations, peeling back layers to reveal not just the overt grandiosity, but also the covert insecurities that drive narcissistic behavior, and everything in between. The second part is a guide to navigating the turbulent waters of narcissistic abuse. It offers strategies for recovery, delineating what can be done to heal and what limitations must be acknowledged. From setting boundaries to seeking support, this section is a guide for those lost in the fog of manipulation and self-doubt that often accompanies narcissistic relationships. This book is like a rallying cry, urging you to face up to narcissism with open eyes and a big heart. It invites you to really think and dive deep into the topic, letting what you learn touch every part of your life. This isn't just about getting better. It's about transforming yourself on a deep level. The journey is all about learning how to be kind to yourself, forgiving yourself for any slips or mistakes, and discovering a wealth of helpful resources to heal. Along the way, the book will be your guide, showing you how to be gentle with yourself, forgive the past, and gather the tools you need to grow stronger and rebuild. Together, we're going to work through recovering from narcissistic abuse, aiming to find not just the strength and smarts, but also a sense of peace and happiness. Let's start this journey with open hearts and minds, letting the power of self-care and forgiveness light our way to a new beginning filled with hope. As Thich Nhat Hanh taught us, understanding is love's other name. Let us understand then, not to excuse, but to heal, not to blame, but to empower. Together, let us navigate the complex journey of narcissistic abuse recovery, finding strength, wisdom, and ultimately peace along the way. Part 1. What Narcissism Is and What It Isn't. Q&A with diagnosed narcissist, Alana. Callie. Thank you for agreeing to this interview, Alana. You might want to brace yourself. These questions came from the victims of narcissistic abuse. Alana. No worries. I understand most questions often do come from people who've had relationships with narcissists and, sadly, not from us with NPD instead. How did you receive your diagnosis? Originally at 18, after an attempt to take myself out. Then again 3 years ago. I've been in therapy since. Have you intentionally exploited your partner's vulnerabilities for your own gain? Yes. I have been self-aware for a few years now. I've seen myself use his emotions or desires in order to create an avenue that I can get what I see as needing. He has some vulnerability in wanting to do what I want and please me, so it's not always exploitation. What satisfaction do you derive from exerting control over your partner or others in general? This would probably surprise people, but I don't like to control my husband. I want to be challenged, called out, stood up to, and who can do that but someone strong enough to match me? I don't look for weakness or low intelligence to associate with in any manner. I never looked for victims. I really hate that word, but I will use people to get what I need. Can you acknowledge the emotional damage you inflicted on your partner? Well, yes, I can now. Before I became self-aware, I probably would have said that we had a loving, understanding relationship that had some bumps and maybe a lot of screaming from me at things he did. I might still be triggered by events in the same way, but I can recognize by his reactions that I'm doing it again, and I can take an immediate look at how I'm reacting to something. Did you ever consider seeking help for your behavior during the relationship? I had issues in high school that attributed to my original diagnosis and received some help then, but I was oppositional to it. Didn't recognize or relate to the diagnosis. After my second child and leaving my job that had given me ample admiration, my frustration tolerance took a dive. The rage episodes got worse. God, my husband has since told me how close he was to divorcing me, but he didn't push me at that time. I approached getting help myself. At that time, I had still never thought about my initial diagnosis. I went to the doctor thinking it was bipolar. Seeing another psychiatrist, they verified the NPD diagnosis and did add the bipolar as well. What excuses did you use to rationalize your abusive conduct? I have a very hard time viewing my behavior as abusive. Even self-aware, I don't see that I am abusing anyone, except occasionally in hindsight. I don't think I use the word abuse the same way as others, believing it's overused, and the context has been diluted. In my own head, it doesn't need any rationalization, just that I was rightfully upset about something. I use apologies when I need to. The act shows me to be trustworthy or vulnerable to admit wrongs when they've been pointed out. My thoughts may differ. Do you believe you are capable of genuine empathy towards your partner? Yes, absolutely capable. Do I show or feel it 100% of the time? No. My sense of entitlement overshadows my empathy. This I might have to rationalize to myself. I have to weigh which is worse. The likelihood that the thing I am doing, wanting to do, will hurt him as being worse than not satisfying the need to have what I want. The scale may swing either way. Did you recognize the cycle of abuse in your behavior patterns? No, never before I was aware, and not until pretty recently. I have a comorbid diagnosis of BPD, and I find those traits make navigating my relationship harder than my traits associated with NPD. Regardless, again, abuse is a weird word to use, but yes. Sometimes I can look back now and see a pattern that has to do with my avoidant attachment style. Can you recognize when you're being manipulative? Yes, most of the time now. Sometimes it's still automatic and not recognized. I want to make the distinction a lot here in regards to self-awareness and knowing what I'm doing in the moment as opposed to in hindsight, or not seeing it at all without the awareness. Most traits are not seen in real time. Most often it's after something has happened or looking back on it.